Welcome to a Land Rover guide to the Land Cruiser.
The suspension system is arguably one of the most contentious issues on four-wheel drives. It's one of the most hotly debated features between Land Rover and Land Cruiser. You've essentially got coils or leafs. Now the debate has been raging about which is better for an off-road vehicle, even within Land Rover circles, because series vehicles had leafs and then Defender moved to coil. Coil springs generally have got better articulation, so they'll keep the wheels in contact with the ground for longer. Leaf springs can give more comfort on the road. They don't have as good articulation, but they brace themselves better. You don't need lots of link bars connecting the axle and holding the axle in place that coil springs can't do. Now Land Cruisers up till about 1999 had leaf springs front and rear. From then they put coil springs on the front, so it's really interesting that they've gone for coils, whereas Land Rover went to coils a lot earlier in the 80s. So what Land Cruiser have tried to do is tried to get the best of both worlds, with leaves on the back, coils on the front. The front suspension on a Land Cruiser, this Land Cruiser from 99 onwards, is pretty much the same as a Defender. You've got a coil spring, shock absorber, and then a panhard rod. This bracket is quite different because it comes down quite low as a separate welded part of the chassis, but the panhard rod runs across like that. It keeps the axle longitudinally stable because coil springs have no strength in that plane. So it's about similar size to the post 2002 Defenders. Prior to that, they were a little bit thinner diameter on the tube. These bushes are metallastic bushes, just the same as the Land Rover. So this is pretty much the same setup, but there's a couple of features here which make me think that Land Cruiser have been able to improve upon the Defender design. The first thing is that the coil spring is actually tilted backwards slightly. If you can see that, it's got a slight backwards tilt. Now on a Defender, the front spring seat actually slopes down slightly. I guess that's so that when the axle comes up, and imagine it's going to work on an arc because it's pinned at the back by the radius, it's going to work on an arc, so the Defender actually got to work harder to come up to level, and then it's a bit of softer travel, using the leverage effect. So Defender sits like this on the front axle, and then it leaves up to horizontal and then past, and then the top spring mount is actually horizontal. Now what that does is you have a straight spring, and then it sort of twists at the bottom. It never really engages properly right at the bottom. So this is slightly angled backwards, as is the top mount. Now what that means is because the direction of travel is that way, everything you hit is going to have an up and a backwards effect. So they've designed so that the spring acts more in the plane of the impacts, as it were, bumps coming towards the vehicle, and so therefore the spring acts like this, which I think is a bit better design. It'd probably be able to use the coil spring through more of its travel, with more of a balance between all of the coils. Land Rover tends to be more squashed at the bottom because it's got the tilt on the front axle. It will only work evenly on each coil once it's gone past the horizontal. Now I don't know if that's a design decision by Land Rover as well, but this one seems to be how I would probably design it, seeing as the force is acting in this direction when you're hitting bumps. I'm not entirely sure because there's a bump stop here which stops the axle hitting the chassis on full articulation, but this I can only imagine is an extra kind of helper spring or damper. I can't really move it by myself, but it's kind of rubbery and that bit's metal, so I can only assume that's like a helper spring, maybe for heavy duty variants. To replace the spring, this looks pretty easy actually. You probably remove these two bolts and let the axle droop and then pull this out. This is a nice feature. They've moulded the spring seat so that you know exactly where to put the bottom coil, where the end coil goes, and it also means that the coil above is directly supported, whereas on the Land Rover there's a gap kind of around to about here where this bit of the spring isn't supported. This is a nice feature. However, it is welded into the axle, so if this does corrode, or if you have problems and you have to cut it off and weld it on, at least Land Rover, it's boltable, so you can replace this if it corrodes. The best thing about this though is the fact the shock absorber is not inside the spring. Changing the shock absorber on a Land Rover, on the front of a Land Rover Defender, is a pain, because you either got to let the axle drop and kind of remove the spring at the bottom and trying to get it out of the bottom, or you've got to take the shock absorber trumpet off and then open the cover on the top, and on a 300 GDI, the right hand side, you've got to take the coolant bottle off and then feed it out through the top. It's a bit of a pain to have to do it compared to the rears. Here, this is so easy. You've got totally easy access to the top nut, bottom nut, compress it, pull it out, put a new one in. Easy, job done. That I really like. I don't think this is also angled more in that plane, so I don't think there's any probably performance loss potentially. It just takes up a bit more space here. But because the engine bay is longer, you've actually got more space front to the bulkhead, to the front of the chassis. So I guess they've got the space to be able to do that. On a Land Rover, that the bulkhead outrigger would probably start from the spring, probably start about here. So you've got a lot less space on a Defender to be able to do that. This is a really nice feature though. Looking at the radius arms here, they're very similar in the design to Land Rover. We've got two bolts at the front that brace either side of the axle tube, and then an arm coming back that then attaches to the chassis, and it stops the axle moving forwards and backwards. So these bolts are pretty much the same, metallastic bushes as well, pretty much the same design as a Land Rover, albeit a Land Rover will come along here and it will come above the steering arm and it will go higher. These have actually sort of tend to go down a bit and they go under the steering arm and then back up. I've heard that in accidents this performs a lot better on a Land Cruiser than on a Defender. The main difference here is that the bush to the chassis. On a Land Rover it's a single thread, or a threaded end that goes through a hole in the chassis, and then you have to put a bush on one side, bush on the other, and then do it up with a washer. Here they've just got the same metallastic bushes that works in the horizontal plane, just the same as the front ones. What I like about this is that it can use a normal metallastic bush, and they're generally quite strong. The Land Rover's just got two rubber bushes that are just sort of held in place by compression and twist around. This one is actually going to move in the plane that the suspension goes up in, because it's going to pivot. It's going to pivot like that. So it's actually designed to work a bit better. Land Rover bushes, you'll see them at the back of the radius arm. They're pretty much squashed and start cracking as soon as you put them in, because they're getting squeezed in all different directions. The other benefit of this is that it's really easy to replace. On a Land Rover, you've got to take the steering arm off because it's above the steering arm, and then you've got to take both of these out to then drop the radius arm and then pull it forward, having taken off the nut at this end, pull it forward to get to this bush on this side of the chassis and radius arm. Whereas here, all you have to do is undo this bolt here, and then it will just pivot down on the front arm there. And well, you'd probably have to take the whole thing out, because you'd have to press this bush out. But you take the whole thing out and then press the bush out, put a new one in. Pressing bushes is a nightmare. It's easier to replace the bush on a Defender once this is off, but this will be a stronger bush and won't be as stressed as on a Defender. I think this is probably a better design choice because it's not getting destroyed by the articulation of the vehicle, but it's holding it in place. This works with the articulation of the suspension. The rear suspension is leaf springs, and that means it pretty much holds itself in place with the bushes here at the front on the chassis, and then here at the back with these shackles here. So you've got a bush here, so you've got 3 on each side, 6 bushes holding itself in. The leaf springs themselves, I'm not sure that they're easier maintenance because they're quite big, and to get them off you've got to undo these 6 bolts, and then there's the clamp bolts here you'd probably have to get undone as well. It doesn't seem like it's as easy a maintenance. They also take up a hell of a lot of room. This has seriously reduced the ground clearance to the extent that that's a really big disadvantage, in my opinion, compared to the Land Rover. The Land Rover, because the Land Rover is, you've got all this clearance here from the bottom and the axle tube round. A lot of the time when you're driving in off-road, you're in ruts, so you know you're in just channels of mud. You've essentially only got that much depth that you can drive in a rut, whereas on a Land Rover you've got this much extra that you can drive in, and that's the kind of key place where I'd say that the ground clearance would cause a problem, is driving in deep ruts. The rear shock absorbers are attached down here, and they, instead of going up to the outside of the chassis leg, actually come up to the middle to a crossment in here. The access is probably just the same as on a Defender. The Land Rover design probably seems a bit stronger for attaching the shock absorbers to the chassis, but there's probably no issue with this. What I really like about these shock absorbers is that the top one has the eyelet with the bushes, like on a Defender, and also the bottom one as well. On a Land Rover, because it's the bottom threaded pin, it tends to vibrate in the hole and overlet out, and then there's nothing you can do really. You've got to weld some washers on. That fattens the axle bracket, and that reduces the amount of threads that will actually go through to be able to screw up the nut on the other side. If they had something like this arrangement, it wouldn't oval because the thread is entirely encased with the bush. This is generally pretty strong. It doesn't move much at all. In Land Rover you can twist this round, so that's a big bonus for these on Land Cruiser, but because of this bottom pin and plate here, this is a lot lower to the ground. So this seems a bit vulnerable compared to a Defender. The Defender's around about here and a lot higher and more out of the way. So probably a bit better in reliability, but a bit less unprotected for the Land Cruiser. There's a lot of open space in here, and because we've got the leaf springs, you'll notice there aren't any bushes. We don't need the top link A-frame fulcrum in here, so there's a lot more space up under the chassis here, and you don't need the lower links to the front. It's just the springs take up a lot more space. You also won't have the A-frame ball joint, which is a wear item on a Land Rover, and it's a bit of a pig to change it, so you don't have that. The rear suspension, I think it's probably better from a reliability point of view. There's less bushes. Bushes are easier to change, but it really compromises on off-road ability, I think, because the ground clearance is seriously reduced because of the leaf springs. So I think it's probably got a better front suspension but a worse rear suspension. On the whole, I would probably choose the Land Rover suspension because it's better off-road, probably. The maintenance I'm not too fussed about. I think there's ways you can mitigate some of the problems. If the front shocks take a bit longer to do, then so be it, but having the coils on the back makes probably the Land Rover a better design, because it's just all in on trying to be a better off-road vehicle.
Click here to go to the next video. Right here. That's where the button is. Right there.